How would you like to be paid for who you are instead of what you do or what you know? Sound good? What if you could charge 3 times, 5 times, or even more for your products or services? What if you could do all of this without working any harder, but instead simply changing the way you communicate the value you offer to your customers? That would certainly be worth way more than $250,000 to you. Experience has proven that most business owners, no matter how successful, undervalue themselves, their services, and their products. Plus, they work too hard for too little for too long, all because of one thing. And that one thing is that they're afraid to raise their prices. That's why I've asked my good friend and longtime Genius Network member, Mike Koenigs, to share this powerful 10-minute message with you. If you haven't met Mike and seen his gold shoes, his amazing outfits, or caught his wonderful, sexy, joyful enthusiasm. Sexy was just added in there by me. Please make sure you do so at this meeting, because Mike is the real deal, unless he's wearing some weird sort of Burning Man outfit, then that gets strange. He's helped over 55,000 people over the past 15 years with his marketing services and products. He's helped over 1,700 business owners, executives, CEOs, and experts become best-selling authors. Mike has built and sold 3 businesses, 2 of them the publicly traded companies. Today, Mike is going to introduce you to a system he's developed that helps high-achieving and high-performing business owners close the value gap. This is how to become the highest-paid, highest-performer in your industry. Mike's title is The Value Gap. How to become the highest-paid performer in your industry. Please welcome Mike, always lacking energy and enthusiasm, Koenigs. Okay.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, hi, everyone. So I have something to share with you today. And the first question I have for you is just raise your hand if you've been doing what you've been doing for 5 years or longer. Okay, that's probably all of you. 10 years or longer. It's okay. 15? 25? Okay. I could go on. But what I will propose to you is that there's a high probability that you are living in a giant prison of your own design, and it is preventing you from having what you want and what you desire. And what I can tell you is, after helping a lot of people, being exposed to an enormous number of gurus, spiritual followers, having been diagnosed and treated for cancer, having a near-death situation, and having an awful lot of clients and belonging to amazing groups like this, I've been exposed to some remarkable people who've helped me on my journey. And starting about a year ago, I started waking up having anxiety and panic, and the best way of describing it is my soul hurt. Something inside of me said, I have to reinvent myself. And when I started communicating this, I had an enormous number of people raising their hand and saying, I've been doing what I've been doing so long, and I feel that ache too. My soul hurts. So what I'm going to share with you today is a little bit of this journey, because along the way I was exposed to a remarkable group of people that have completely opened up. The best way to describe it is I swallowed the red pill. It was like the Matrix, and every part of my life has changed. I'm selling my business, I'm completely redefining who I am, and I've been taking a few people on a journey with me that became my test subjects that I've been helping along the same path. So I'm going to share an interesting case study with you as well. So a couple things just to make Joel happy here. I've got my big promises embedded, the first one of which is this is how to get paid for who you are, not what you do or what you know. And a new way to approach creating offers. Another one is reframing the way you value you, your businesses, and your services. And this works for and in any business, whether you are a personal brand or you've got an organization, a corporation, or you want to sell it someday. So I was at a Genius Network meeting not long ago. I got paired up with a pretty famous person. We were having a conversation. He was talking about how he was paid $20,000 to make a remote appearance. And this person runs a very well-known organization, and my perception of him suddenly shrank. And I looked at him and I said, how dare you? How dare you charge $20,000 for who you are? You deserve to earn $1 million for what you just did. And he looked at me, he teared up, and he said, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that. And he was here with his partner who held me and said, that's exactly what he needed to hear. And I did a little exercise with him, because one of his goals was he told me he wanted to increase the sales volume of his organization by several $100 million. And right away I got this download and I knew how to get him there. But I wrote something down. I said, before I tell you what that is, I'm going to write this down and I'll read it to you, which is, you are one offer away from solving every challenge you think you have. The only question is, will you or can you receive as much abundance as you can imagine? And that is a question to ask yourself. And it has to do with the prison we all are in as entrepreneurs all the time. Well, he immediately wrote yes on top. And I showed him a little plan. It was 3 lines, 3 sentences. And he said, that is profound. You and I are going to be working together, and we are now. But I think I gave him what was a $400 million business plan in 3 lines. It changed the way he thought about who he was and the way his business worked. So the bottom line here is the enemy that we all have is we live within a line item prison that prevents, that limits your ability to receive what you're worth. Okay, what does that really mean? Well, here's an example. This is a client of mine who's a doctor. Doctors are the worst offenders of this, which is, in this particular case, he's a chiropractor, and when he proposes something to a client, in it are savings. He's basically programming and showing his clients that he's going to discount what he is. And ultimately, every time, the complaint is, but my patients are too cheap. My patients are. And you get exactly what you deserve when it comes to your clients. You're receiving exactly what you deserve. So what we did is we composed an offer based on a system that I'm going to show you right now. He presented that offer to his next patient the next day and closed a $7,500 deal and then subsequently a $15,000 deal instead of clamoring to get $400. So here's the case study. This is a woman, her name is Felicia. She worked for Deloitte for 10 years. Amazing pedigree. But after leaving, she reached a point where she realized there were a few things that were preventing her from getting to where she wanted to get to. And she had been charging $200 to $600 per hour now in her new consultancy. I met her because a friend of mine introduced us and said she wants to reinvent herself. I thought of you. Do you think you can help her? We had a conversation. I said, yeah, I think I can. So what happened was she came down. I do all my work on at my beach place in La Jolla. And when we begin the process, I always say, we're going to walk inside and we're going to compose a symphony of the next chapter of your life and business together. But the first question I want to ask you is, how do you want to feel? What feelings and emotions do you want to experience? So that is step 1. I'm going to give you a step-by-step process here. And she wrote down, she told me, clarity and confidence. She wanted to walk away with clarity and confidence. And I also ask another question, which is, at the end of the day, how can we make today an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10? She said, I want clarity on my offers. So that's what we worked on. So the second step, and again, the best way of looking at this is a reverse approach to building offers, because typically when we create offers, we create a big long list of stuff that we know our clients or our customers need. Then we figure out how to deliver that. We put it on a form or online or whatever, or we have a sales conversation. We lead them to the path. But instead I ask her, what are your values? So the question is, and I'll just read this to you, when you think about your platform, that's books speaking, it's basically all the things that encompass you or whatever direction we take you in. Do you know who you'd love to work with or influence the most, individuals and groups? Now just listen to her language here. I'd love to work with companies that are progressive at getting the brightest folks in the door, growing great leaders and keeping an engaged, empowered workforce. I'd love to work with women who believe in the mission, partners and collaborators, while we're bringing the best ideas to the table and how to change the conversation. I'd love to influence younger women, show them a path to success that has been paved by those who've been there already. I'd love to be seen as a game changer in the space, and I'd love to do all this and not be on the golf course to influence decision makers. Now that, by the way, was the source of her pain. The real reason she left Deloitte is the game was stacked against her as a woman, and she worked with a lot of women who weren't getting where they wanted to. They traded, they cashed in who they were in order to achieve, and usually got bypassed, and they didn't earn as much as men. That's why she left. The next step is your core beliefs. So the example I'll give you is this. And I asked the question, who are the top 3 to 5 people you most admire or model in your life and business, and why? And she replied, growing up, Wonder Woman. Funny, I know, but I don't remember a lot of strong women role models back then. This is the one that got me, and I cried the first time I read it, which is my mom. what she's gone through, and then the drive she instilled in me. She taught me not to settle, to not take no for an answer, to see the world, to dream big, to do whatever it is I wanted to do, but do it with all my might. And by the way, I'll give you the slides here. I'll give you a way to get those at the end in case you're not writing this down. But the fourth step is to fearlessly declare your values. Now, I was just talking to someone during an exercise right now, and this particular individual was stuck in a challenge, which is her business doesn't serve who she wants to be. And the truth of the matter is, if you want to get what you want, if you want your brand to represent, and you want to receive what you are capable of receiving, you got to fearlessly declare your values. In this particular case, we took her values and turned them into a reversal. In other words, we communicate that to your ideal perfect audience, your perfect customer. So if you have a customer base, we spell it back. So here's what we have. If you own or run a company that is progressive and wants to attract the brightest folks to work for you, grow great leaders, and keep an engaged, empowered workforce, you're an executive woman who believes in a mission to bring the best ideas to the table and how to change the conversation so that you can attract and retain the best leaders. If you want to mentor and cultivate a culture of younger, professional, influential women, et cetera, but here, and if you'd love to do this and not be on the golf course to influence decision makers based on high quality, value-driven relationships of partnership and collaboration. And then, who is this for? It's for you if this message resonates, to not settle, to not take no for an answer, to see the world, to dream big, to do whatever it is that you want to do, but do it with all your might. So the point of this is, when we constructed the offer, we embedded the value system inside of it. Now, this isn't the final offer. I do this just to protect her. But the net was, she had a conversation with someone 48 hours later who raised their hand and said yes to a $25,000 opportunity, not a $200 or $400 opportunity, because the message resonated so closely. And it was derived from an uncompromising perspective that mirrored her values. And the bottom line is the transformation has to do with something I call closing the value gap. So here's the quick and dirty. What is the value gap? Well, it's when your internal narrative, in other words, your self-perception, is mirrored in the external narrative. In other words, the way other people perceive you to be. All this means is when your values are out in the open, you've declared them, and that is mirrored in the external narrative. In other words, it takes a little bit of work to get this just right, but it's a unified, congruent, authentic, resonant brand message that delivers feelings and emotions, and that's ultimately why people want to do business with you. So if you're stuck in a space right now where you have been doing what you've been doing and you're not receiving what you're capable of, it's because you've been doing and not being a fully realized human being. So when you are declaring your values publicly and it is embodied in the offer, people will pay you exactly in whatever you ask for. So the net is, we drew up a little business plan and she walked out of there, and I don't know if you saw the first picture, but that's a new face. Her physiology changed in a matter of 7 hours, and she walked out with perfect clarity and confidence. Now this isn't unusual because I've done it many times with a series of people. It's a process that's very repeatable. So to summarize, here are the 5 steps. First of all, declare what feelings and emotions you want to experience and feel, which is not typical for us entrepreneurs who bury who we are in order to get, and do. Write out your values-driven who, your core beliefs, fearlessly declare your values, basically flipping and saying to you, and then you present a congruent offer based upon that. So just to bring this around, I did the same exercise with a gentleman who runs a $100 million insurance company. 48 hours later, he closed a $90 million deal because his energy and the way he communicated the offer shifted. This worked in a consumer packaged good company where just through the same process, he managed to communicate to a consumer packaged good manufacturer. So again, this works anywhere. And then finally, I've been doing the same thing with Dave Asprey. Our goal is to present a $1 million offer this year together based upon the same foundation. So to close, I'm going to just give you this. This is something I learned from Wayne Dyer years ago. I traveled with him many years ago. And it goes something like, who do you need to become right now to attract that which you desire? And the only thing separating you from it is time. So That's the end of the presentation. My phone number's up here. If you'd like a copy of the presentation slides or have a conversation, I'm all yours. I hope this is useful to you. Thank you very much.